Today, we're going to talk about how to get customers in logistics as a freight broker or a trucking company, in essence, in 2023. So we're going to talk about this today. And the approach that I really like to take when it comes to selling is show you the path I take in terms of what kind of approach I like to do, compared to maybe some other approaches that other people take or other organizations take. Now, it really depends on where you want to take your freight brokerage, or as a freight agent, where you want to go, and also as a trucking company, how you want to approach it. Now, consultative selling is an approach to sales that is centered around the customer and their needs. This actual approach shifts the focus away from the services or products, features, and instead focuses directly on the customer that you're trying to sell to. So this takes a different approach than just traditional sales or traditional selling. In a consultative sales approach, you're prospect focused, you're listening, you're asking questions, you have custom solutions, tailored solutions to each customer. And in addition to this, it's a long-term selling relationship that you're going to form with that customer, and not a, one-time sort of deal, right? On the other end of the spectrum is the traditional sales side, which is very much service or product focused in terms of your features or what you offer as a company. And that's very you have a standard sales pitch when it comes to every single customer. It's a standard approach. It's a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a one-size-fits-all approach. And it's really focused on short-term selling, and a short-term selling, if we can call it a relationship. But it really isn't a relationship, because you're just looking to do that one sale and do a one sale one time, and that's it. So there's those two approaches. I like to focus on consultative selling, comparatively speaking, to traditional sales. And that's really how I like to take that approach. Now, what exactly is consultative selling? Well, consultative selling is focused specifically on guiding your prospect to the solution that works best for them. So you act as a consultant and you encourage your prospect to make their own decisions. Ultimately, your goal is to still make the sale, but you want to accomplish this through the problem solving, and not exactly pushing your service to them. The consultative selling process requires listening, understanding, trust building, which makes it a very much human technique compared to the stereotypical salesperson approach, so to speak. The key difference between the consultative approach and the traditional sales approach is the actual objective. In traditional sales, the goal is just to sell the product or the service, and that's it. As a result, the entire process is very much service or product focused and very impersonal. In consultative selling or consultative sales, the objective is to find the best solution for your customer, even if it's not your own solution. So if your prospect ends up not choosing your product, it may seem like a waste of your time, but you will gain more than you lose in this perspective. Now, further consultative selling advantages, you're adopting a consultative sales approach, and it comes with a domino effect of benefits. So by virtue of building trusting client, salesperson, or salespeople relationships, your prospects will speak highly of you and your business, and they will recommend you to other prospects. The consultative sales process creates a win-win situation, and on the prospect side, they receive an improved customer service, wider knowledge of the product or service, and greater confidence that their salespeople or salesperson has their best interest in mind. The consultative selling results in closing a higher percentage of high-priced sales, and this makes sense when you take into account that 50% of every buying decision is driven by emotion. So what kind of skills would you need to have to take that consultative approach? You want to have a sense of curiosity to the way you are as a human being. So if you're naturally curious, you're already on the right track. But even if you aren't, there are ways to act curious. You start with asking yourself the basic questions. For example, who? Who are you going to talk to? Who are the decision makers that you're trying to talk to? What? What does their business do? What might they need from you? Why? Why do they need your solution? And how? How do they make decisions? How can you help them make these decisions? So by getting answers to these questions, you will get a much better understanding of who your prospect is and what you are able to do for them. Overall, you want to come off as unscripted and genuinely curious about the issue that they're facing with respect to, their pain points. Another skill that you want to have, or a skill that you want to attain, is obviously active listening. If you're not actively listening, then being or acting curious will not be possible. As a salesperson, you may be naturally inclined to take hold of the conversation, but in consultative selling, active listening is just as important as talking. You need to listen in order to truly connect with your prospects and understand their actual pain points. The difference between active listening and passive listening is that when you listen actively, you are taking in what your prospect is saying and truly trying to understand them to offer the best solution possible for their pain points. For example, if you ask the question, what do you want to achieve? Give them time to actually talk. Give them time to respond. Listen to their goals and answer in a way that is helpful to their situation, even if the solution does not involve your product or service. You also want to have balancing questions. So although consultative selling will involve asking your prospect a lot of questions, you want to make sure to balance those questions and balance the questions you ask with the insight that you provide. If you only ask questions, it will make the conversation feel more like an investigation or interrogation, and you don't want to take it there. When discussing your solution with your prospect, you want to put it in the context of how it will help, or how it has helped customers with similar pain points with respect to your services. This way, you show that you're not just offering your solution or your service as a solution because it will benefit you, but because it has benefited people in your customer's similar situation, or maybe even identical situation. In addition to this, you obviously want to do your research. So before you contact with your prospect, you want to do some research. It's very important because you need to go into the conversation knowing why they should want to talk to you. In your research, you should find out the general goals and possible problems, problem pain points your prospect customer may be facing. And it's during this phase that you want to answer the who, what, why, and how of your actual prospect. So by fully understanding their business, it'll be easier for you to customize your conversation to their needs. You can start your research by looking at their business website, seeing what comes up when you Google them, and through social media accounts that they may have, such as Facebook or LinkedIn, and look at, and this is of their decision makers. You look at their LinkedIn and Facebook of their decision makers. You also want to look for relevant recent news about the specific company that your prospect is working for, the company that you want as your customer, and anything that may stand out that you can use in your favor. In addition to this, like I said, active listening, you want to listen and build the trust. So start the conversation by asking some questions, and some examples of questions that you can start off with are, what would make this call or meeting beneficial for you? And that's a question you can ask your prospect. How are you currently managing your processes? What's working well with your current processes? What's not working well with your current processes? And what are your goals? What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? And you play it by ear. And open-ended questions, like the ones that I just mentioned, will give your prospect the opportunity to do the talking right off the bat. So you break that ice. You want them to present their own issues. You shouldn't go and point that out for them, because it may come across as you trying to speed up and guide the conversation. The point is to let them speak and listen to them. You can let them know you are listening by taking notes or giving nonverbal or verbal cues. As the trust grows with your prospect will reveal the most important information about business goals, current and past issues, pain points, and you may have your answers in what you're looking for in the things that they say. And you can use this information to then close the deal. In addition to this, you want to be gathering information as you go along. So like I mentioned, you want to ask open-ended questions, asking how and why questions early and often, asking what the client has done in the past, what he or she is doing in the present, and what is he or she planning for the future for, of course, like in logistics, moving their freight. What is the client looking for in the services that you offer? So for example, I am a freight broker. So what are they looking for from a freight broker? Are they looking for competitive rates? Are they looking for quick turnaround time? Are they looking for help with difficult freight in terms of irregularities, like difficult lanes to cover, difficult freight to cover, difficult modes to cover? Are they just looking for customer delight, right? So what is it that they're looking for in a partner with respect to what services you offer? People are most interested in what they themselves are doing, how they do it, and why they do it. And you can, if you remember this during the gathering stage of gathering information, you can go a long way with that prospect. Identifying the reason that it makes sense for the person to use what you have to offer is your overall goal, right? In addition to this, you obviously want to give advice. You want to be the consultant in this relationship. So after hearing your prospect out loud and understanding their business needs, it's time for you to advise them on how to move forward. At this point in time in the conversation, wherever that conversation takes place, you can present your solutions to them. And when bringing up your solutions, position it in terms of the needs they discussed with you. They'll likely ask a lot of questions when the time is right. So continue to listen and answer the questions that arise. If they have objections to your product or service or what you're offering, be prepared to kind of disarm them. So some common objections can be price objections, requests to just send over information, or being told, I'll think about it. None of these objections are actual deal breakers. Just make sure you're one step ahead of them and equipped with the skills to counter these objections that are asked. So if your service is not a good fit for them, suggest another solution. And remember, if the deal doesn't end with a close, it doesn't mean you wasted your time. In the process, you gained a good reputation and have a high likelihood of being recommended by your prospect to people who need your services, or at some point in time later down the road, they're in your pipeline. You can then go back to them and offer your services again to them, because now you've built a rapport with that person in that company. And to close a deal, you want to keep the same tone you use throughout the conversation. And remember, the point of consultative selling is to build a relationship. Closing is the added benefit or as a result of that relationship being built. And it comes easy once you have established trust between you and your prospect. If you start acting pushy at this point in this type of conversation, your prospect will lose trust in you, and you may miss out on a deal that's right on the table for you to take. So closing is a process, so don't worry if it doesn't happen all at once. Most deals take numerous follow-ups in order to close. Now, on the follow-up side of things, you want to be following up with your clients, and it's incredibly important, especially if you're taking this approach of consultative selling. So for one, 80% of deals require at least 5 follow-ups to close. Secondly, consultative selling is a collaborative process. It's important that you stay in contact with your prospect and not disappear, ghost them after your conversation. And after your first initial meetings, you should send your first follow-up, via email. This way you can provide them with any additional things that they may have asked for, and they have another way to contact you in addition to phone calls. In this email, you can also ask what their preferred method of contact is to remain respectful. If they don't respond to your follow-up, contact them again in a few days and again next week or in a couple weeks. Make sure that in your follow-up communication, you contact them for a specific reason beyond just checking in, because that's fake. If you did close a deal, you should call to see how the solution that you provided for them is working for them, and if there is anything else that they may need from you. That's how long-lasting sales and relationships are built. I can give you an example from my personal life, not specifically to my business, but products I've bought in the past. So for example, my furniture in my living room. The individual that I bought it from, he's still working at the same sales position that he was, and he leads a team of sales professionals in a furniture store. This guy calls up at least once per year just to check, see how things are going and if I'm still enjoying the product, and if not, why, and if so, why also. So it makes me want to buy from him again, because he's calling me and asking me, how am I? How am I actually doing? How is my product actually performing? Is it performing up to what he sold to me, or is it something that they need to fix on their end? So this is something that you can apply to your sales tactics and how to sell going forward as well. In terms of, who would be the best fit for this type of consultative approach, people who work in sales can benefit the most from using the consultative selling technique. Building trust is far easier to do in person than over the phone. So outside sales positions is a fantastic way to use consultative selling, this technique. And when a salesperson that's out in the field doing outside sales goes into a meeting, they're equipped to build trust based on in-person interactions and their sales knowledge. And regardless of the industry you work in, all salespeople can benefit immensely from this type of approach. And companies that sell tech is one example that definitely can take this approach to the next level. And these industries can gain a better reputation by focusing more on the relationships and relationship building with their products or with their prospects, rather than focusing on their actual product itself. And companies that are selling products that are value focused and not feature focused, you're going to be wanting to use this consultative approach. Companies in a highly competitive market, where one of the only distinguishing factors between their competitors is the level of service, you're going to benefit from this consultative approach, because you're going to differentiate yourself in this perspective. And of course, B2B companies, right? So whether you decide to actually take this advice and go down the consultative selling approach, you just have to bring some of the components into your mix, that there are countless benefits to building trusting relationships in sales. And like I mentioned before, research. This is one of the most important parts. Doing the right research can definitely enhance any sales pitch from average to top notch. And by doing so, you become a trusted advisor. And there are many options for learning more about your prospects. You can use LinkedIn. You can get additional products that LinkedIn offers, like Sales Navigator. You can do company websites. You can do online reviews to get more information from your customers, Google reviews, for example. And you can take a look at their competitors to see the difference between the two companies, the one that you're trying to prospect and the other one that maybe down the road you'll prospect, or maybe you just want to comparatively look at the two different companies, where they are in their journeys. in their journey. From a consultative selling perspective, consider going a step further and research the actual field of what your prospect is in. And by portraying that you have an understanding and knowledge of the field and current market trends, you'll very much so set yourself apart from the competition. So for example, in my actual business life, I have a tremendous respect for the automotive industry, specifically for the automotive parts and assembly tiers of production that provide automotive parts for the assembly lines that are out there, like GM, Ford, Honda, Toyota, etc., Mercedes, BMW, and all that stuff. So for me, I can talk automotive like it's a part of my blood because I've done that for 14 years. So automotive for me is a big passion of mine, and I can go into a meeting and talk about it with the customer like second nature. So that's what I mean. Like, you take from your experiences and show genuine interest. If you have a genuine interest in construction, when you go talk to people that have construction supplies and equipment and material, you can talk easier because you have a passion for it. So find your passion and apply it to your career and apply it to the way that you approach your customers. It's true for all logistics across the board. Your goal is for your prospects to walk away feeling understood and like you have a very much deep interest in helping them succeed. And having effective research done will get you there. Will get you there a lot faster than otherwise. And remember, your pitch should be different every single time you deliver it to a new prospect. So that means your pitch should always be tailored to the specific prospect, their business, their industry, and their struggles. If you take this advice, I guarantee you will be successful. You'll be successful no matter where you are in North America. You will be able to attain customers this way. And so this is definitely what I wanted you guys to take away from this, is that consultative selling is the best approach. Care about your prospect, look at their pain points, empathize, show curiosity, ask questions, actively listen, allow them to actively ask questions in return, listen to the objections, answer the objections, and follow up constantly. And this is the approach you want to take. It should be a cycle that you go through when you're out there trying to sell whatever type of selling you are trying to do. Again, this is something I wanted to talk about for the logistics industry, for freight brokering, but this how to sell technique in consultative selling can be used in any single industry that you particularly can even think of on the top of your head. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully this was something of value. If you did, please give my channel a subscribe, a like, a comment, some tips on how I could improve in terms of what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to grow this channel. I'm trying to get this to a point where I'm actually have a big, large benefit to the world in terms of giving back information that I've learned through the years as a professional salesperson in the field of logistics and as a freight broker, but also as a trucking company as well. I've owned my own trucking company as well. So this consultative approach works for industries and sub-industries and sub-verticals and verticals across the board. So take this into consideration. Again, thank you very much for listening, and please give me a comment. Let me know your thoughts, and God bless. Cheers. Bye-bye.